Are we live? Is it working?
Let's see. It's delayed a little bit.
Oh, it's delayed a little bit. Hey everyone, Sue here.
Tori here. Let's get the comments. There's people commenting.
Oh, there's commenting already. Oh, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Cammie. Hello, Drew. Hello, Jessica. Hello, Skylar.
And the mild rumpus. Thanks for joining us today. This is something that I've done for years and years and years on my blog, which is think of all these categories to crunch all my year-end reading numbers into. And so we thought it would be fun to do it today as a live. And Tori's going to help me because she has way more interesting numbers than I do. So
maybe
you do. So
hello, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny. I'm supposed to go like this. Yes. So anyway, so we're going to start out by just doing some regular basic total numbers. So, right? Or do we want to have some sort of intro instead?
Did you want to show how we did our numbers?
Oh, right. We were going to do that. So we prepared for this yesterday, counting our things. And the way I prepare for it is I print off all my books that I read from the year off of the Goodreads report. And then I just mark it all up. So it's very old school. I don't know how else to do it because it's I can't think unless I can write down and like circle and mark and make check marks by and stuff like that.
But then you have to individually count them all.
Yes, but since I don't have very many books, it's not that hard. So if I had more books, I'm going to have to figure out another method, I think, for sure. But I was very curious to know how you counted your books.
I did a spreadsheet, like Jenny just commented. But I didn't keep track of it throughout the year. I just did it this past week. And I used stuff from Storygraph also, but then I did my own spreadsheet as well. And then you Control F, do like Control F. You don't know what Control F means? So when you go Control F, and then you can search like audio, and then it just tells me how many audio
how many right there on your little.
Because I have them all listed. So then it just counts it for me.
Nice. I should probably figure out how to do that. What do we say? Is that going to be? Should I make that be a goal for next year? Learn how to spreadsheet my books. Storygraph. We're talking. Storygraph is being mentioned. Yes.
I have my Storygraph up.
So look how pretty this is. So I want to do Storygraph next year because look how pretty. Yeah, it's a little better than Goodreads in its pretty graphing stuff, I guess. So, but so far it's a little bit harder for me to use than Goodreads. Like I struggled to find people there and to see where people are at. I like the community aspect is weird.
Goodreads more for the social part, but Storygraph I like for the graphs.
So yeah, if you're not on Storygraph yet, let's all try it, I guess. And yes, I'm cataloging all my own books on there. Cool. We kind of did that with Goodreads too.
I made a separate Goodreads account to put all the books that we own on it.
Yeah. Which I know there's better ways to do it, but that was working for us years ago when we were trying to do that. But you're way behind, so we still can't really use it.
I caught up at one point, but I don't know. It's probably it.
Jennifer is on Storygraph. Really awesome to find you there.
You just barely got Goodreads.
Anyway, Storygraph, yes, kind of the newish thing, I guess. I don't know how long it's been around, but it seems like people are talking about it more now than they used to. So anyway, that's how she did it. Old school, new school. So let's start with our couple of general categories. Right here. What are our general totals? you like our ticker tape?
Yay!
So I read 50 books, which was my Goodreads goal, and finished my last book with 2 hours to spare on New Year's Eve. So that's my total goal.
I read 100 books. My goal was 50, but I read 100 also with 2 hours to spare on New Year's Eve with my last one.
Yes, we were doing a little mini readathon on New Year's Eve, and then we got done at 10.
Our last books in
10 o'clock. So it's you're good. You're good to chat as much as you want, Jenny.
Comments.
No worries. That makes us feel like somebody's actually listening to us. 75 for Jessica. Awesome. You went over your goal. And Cammie always has a ton. 127. Awesome. Whoa, what happened here? And Skylar, 24 books, and your goal was 20. So yay!
Good.
I'm gonna do. This reminds me of this is side note tangent. I'm gonna do a video about kind of people's variations in goals and how it's all good. Doesn't matter. So, because I sometimes feel like weird that I don't read as much as other people do, but I think I'm kind of right in the middle. So I guess that's good. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too when I talk about physical versus audio, because it kind of.
Books with Nola. I think you're a new subscriber. We just found each other yesterday, correct? So welcome. Awesome. Let's see what else. We've got 50 books, and you read 110. It's kind of like what you just said.
Similar to me.
Yes. Wait, Asia. Did I get?
Are you calling me out on listening?
Asia wanted to do 1 book a month, which is what she accomplished, right? Perfect. And Jenny too, I think, right? You've got a secret goal.
Secretly 52.
Awesome. Jennifer, your books are going to be up next year for sure.
True.
All right.
Maybe calling that.
Oh, okay. Because of the audio?
Uh-huh.
Oh. Okay, we're talking about the audio here in a second too. All right, so at those total books, how else did I break it down? Oh, pages.
Well, first.
Oh, first.
Let's do the physical versus audio.
Okay.
Because
Well, that's in our format section.
No, because then I did the pages separate and hours separate.
Okay. Well, pages and hours, because she did a ton of audio.
Yeah. So of physical books, out of my 100, I only read 21 physical books. So, like, if my goal of
you only had 21 physical books?
Yeah.
Wow.
And 79 audiobooks. And so we could get into the whole discussion of
that should be a different
audiobooks reading, which to me, yes, it feels the exact same in my brain.
Most people in the community agree with this, but we can have a different discussion on that another day. Because I feel like, I don't know, we could go on and on about that probably.
But like, you know, my goal, if I didn't do audiobooks, then my goal and the amount of books I would have read would have been way lower, because I only read 21 physical books.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know that your ratio was quite that. I knew it was a lot, but pages and hours.
Yeah, so I counted the total physical pages I read, because I didn't want to count the pages of the audiobooks because I didn't read the pages.
Right.
So the total physical pages that I read was 7,531.
7,531 physical pages. And I had 16,606.
16,606.
Which I feel like is low. I feel like that's low for my norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I counted. Oh, did you do averages? I did averages. The average physical pages read, or the average physical book length that I read was 359 pages.
I didn't have that anywhere.
And then I counted total audiobook hours listened, which was 761 hours of audiobooks.
Wow, that's a lot.
And the average audiobook length was 2.6 hours.
Oh, that's
29,755 pages.
That's a lot of pages. See, look at the range we have. This is awesome. I love it. And so you counted pages instead of hours. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on how you want to count them.
On the Storygraph or Goodreads or whatever, it said my total pages would have been like 33,000 if I counted all the pages.
Music. I don't know about listening to more music than all of us. I listen to a lot of music too, which has actually been my issue with doing audiobooks, is that I will usually choose music over audiobooks.
In that type of situation.
Yes. And so it's been a struggle, but we'll see. We'll see how I do this year. I don't know. Too bad there's not a way to count all the music. I guess there is a way because Spotify Wrapped.
Minutes.
Anyway. Okay, cool.
Pages of audiobooks. Yeah, I didn't know. That's not what I did at first on the stats, but then I felt weird about that because I was like, I didn't actually read the pages. It was the time.
So you consumed the book, but you wanted to count the hours instead of the pages. Yeah. So I'm going to listen. One of my goals, I just put my goal video up, and I'm going to listen to more audiobooks this year, hopefully. I did 3 audiobooks last year, which, are we going to get to that next or not yet? We'll get to that in a minute. We're not. I'm jumping the gun. Struggle to focus with audiobooks. Me too. I feel this.
I struggled at first also, but the more you do it, the more your brain
figures it out. So, and what she said to me was, do it while you're doing something else with your hands. So I did a lot of that just this past month when I was doing some Christmas craft stuff. And it does really work for me to listen to an audiobook while I'm sewing or something. But I can't do it in the car. Maybe I can do it in the car. I don't know. I've not really tried that. But
I can't do it in the car. That's like the only.
The car needs music.
The
car is a music place. But I can't do it when I'm just like laying there or something, because I will definitely fall asleep. Face pink tears. What are we crying for?
Is that an emoji that doesn't show up here?
Yes. My heaviest audiobook year too, with my 3 audiobooks.
Mine too, with 79.
Oh, it's 216 books.
What?
See, this is what I can never understand, how people do this. Anyway, too much? Okay, because you were the one that was saying you're wanting to do a little less. Am I right? I feel like that was a comment you made the other day. That you wanted to do a little bit less, actually. Maybe I'm getting people mixed up, but who knows? Whoops, too much. Yes. I'm clicking on the wrong things. See, in the car, I need music. Yep. And Megan is with us. Music and audio in the car, depending on your mood, right? Like what Jenny said. Yeah. Okay. Should we go on to the other? Did we get all our totals? Total rereads. I usually put rereads down because often I'll do rereads in a year, like especially if we're reading something for book club that I've already read, and then I will reread it. But I did not have any rereads this year. Did you have any rereads?
I had one reread. I reread Cinder by Marissa Meyer because that was for my other book club.
Oh, right.
I reread that.
Did anybody do rereads, and how do you feel about rereads? Is that something that you usually end up doing, or is it just kind of depend on what's going on? Jenny reread 3 books. 8 rereads for Jessica. Awesome. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Nola has no rereads. No rereads for Megan. No rereads for Skylar. No rereads for Asia. Usually you
did you
what?
read Twilight again this year?
Well, I was just going to say, or Harry Potter. I know Jenny does reread for comfort, reads a lot, right? So, but you did a little less. And I feel like, Cammie, weren't you going to do a reread challenge? I feel like I remember you talking about that, but anyway. You read, so a lot of your books are rereads. That's awesome. I always want to reread. Like I'll be going through my shelf and I'll be like, oh, I should reread that. And then I never actually do it. So
Yeah, there's lots of other books that we want to get to.
These Broken Stars, Jessica, our other Jessica. We have 2 Jessicas going on today. So we can keep track of them, hopefully. Asia reread Harry Potter. Jenny's saying yep to the comfort reading. Cammy saying, oh, because your blog died.
Keep track.
Yes. I for a minute thought you said your dog died. I was like, wait, what?
Blog, dog.
Yeah. 3 book titles for the mild rumpus. Rewatching movies, TV shows. That's a different category entirely.
That's a different channel.
Okay, I'm getting you straight, hopefully, in my mind, except I don't know what to call you. I don't know what your actual name is, so do you want me to call you your actual name? Yes, a reread challenge in December. Interesting month to do rereading. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like, speaking of audiobooks, that rereading something familiar on an audiobook is probably a good way to
get used to it.
Get used to audio listening. People have talked about that. Okay. Let's do our next category, which is the author ratio. We didn't know how else to say this, which is basically, back in the day, it was interesting to compare guy authors versus girl authors, because I know a lot of people were wanting to make that ratio a little more even. Like we sometimes tended to read more male authors and we wanted to read more women authors or something. I remember this like years ago was something people were talking about. So that was something we would count. Now I feel like it's kind of a funny thing to count because of the whole discourse on everybody having different genders. So we can count this according to what we think people are, but who knows what they identify as. So this is kind of a weird thing, I think, to count these days, but I still found it interesting to look at my list and count what I at least thought they were according to their name.
Yeah. And I Googled some people just to make sure. But
Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Now I'll know forever. Wait, hopefully forever. Watch me forget someday down the road. Vanessa. Yes. Okay. Oh, another way to get used to audio is to find a book narrated by an actor you like. Makes sense.
Memoirs read
by the author, which is my thing lately. Or also you find your favorite narrator and then you love them, right?
Julia Whalen.
There you go. Yep. Okay, wait. What did I click on? Okay, so Jenny said 2 male, 10 female, 0 other. Jessica Anderson. She did stop tracking this, yes, because it does kind of feel weird these days, I guess. I don't know. 52, 22, and other. So I have, what's mine? 10. Yeah. 10 men authors, 40 women authors. So I am skewed a little bit these days, which I find very interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I've had 68 female and 34 male, but that adds up to a little bit more than 100 because there was one book that was a male-male duo and one book that was a male-female duo.
Sweet. And I had my BTS book I read, whose name I wasn't sure. I mean, BTS male, of course, and then the guy that compiled it and put it together, we think is a guy.
Well, why didn't you look it up?
I didn't. I was too lazy to look it up
right now.
I was too lazy to look it up. Yeah, see, I don't know what authors identify as non-binary yet. So,
Kong is a male.
So the BTS one. Sometimes it's easy to know if Korean names are male or female, and sometimes it's not. But You know what? It's true. Nola, yes. I feel the same way. I don't usually pay attention
Same.
when I'm reading them and as I'm going through the year, but then at the end of the year,
it's just interesting to see what turns out.
Yeah, to see what happened. So, for sure, I don't really pay attention. How do you say that? Hey, sexy lady. Tell us what your name is so we can call you by your name. And you are a new person too that I just found yesterday on MJ's Live. So thank you so much for joining us. Awesome. Okay. So, and Cami, she says she read a they them book, and that they're a they them. That's why I'm saying I don't know
To know that
in their bios. Okay, we just got to pay more attention, I guess. Got to pay more attention. Asia is a teeny bit heavy on the male side.
Barely.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so yeah, that one's a tricky, kind of interesting category to count these days, but I still kind of find it interesting. What do you think? Maybe next year we will try to pay more attention to see which ones are identified as they them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
With the authors.
Oh, can you say that? Okay, say this name. Say this name. Kiana. Hopefully we got that right. Not sure I'm going to remember that one. Kiana. Okay. Awesome name. You're welcome. Thanks for subscribing to mine, I think. I'm guessing you subscribed. I don't know. All right.
Well,
we haven't even got to like the real stuff
yet. Hey, but I also counted like my repeat authors versus like overall, how many authors overall? How many different authors overall?
Different authors and repeat authors.
Yeah. So for me, overall, like totally different authors was 91 different authors.
Wow.
But then 2 of them were a duo, so that's a little bit more. And then the author that I read the most of was Stephen King.
Really?
I read 4 Stephen King books. And then I had 8 authors that I read 2 books of. And then everything else was only 1 book per author.
I'm looking at mine real fast.
Let's see if you can figure it out.
I'm thinking real quickly. I maybe did a repeat of about 10 or 11 authors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them are repeats.
Like
actually,
multiple books or like 2 books.
What? Some of them were actually like repeats this year. Like Sabat Tahir, I read like 3 books of hers, and Brian Catcher, I read like 2 books of his, and those ones I read. Well, Sabat Tahir was new this year. Brian Catcher I've read a couple of years. Casey West I read every year. So I have my favorites. Yeah, but what was your question? Did I answer it?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
62, 41.
And 1 trans. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. Do you guys find it interesting, or is it just kind of a weird thing to count? Okay, now we're doing, Jenny's saying 3 repeat, 9 new. Awesome. You did reread some Stephanie Meyer, okay? 3 repeat for Jessica Anderson. 5, I read 3 books from each. Yes, it gets kind of complicated if we're going to start counting all this, huh?
I'm happy you guys have this pulled up and ready to talk about it. I mean, this is one that's on Storygraph. So
is it?
Easy for people to find.
For people to find on Storygraph, okay. 91 new, is that what she's saying? You had 91 new
91 different
people. 11 books by John Wyndham. I haven't heard of this author. Find that one. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so the next one. The next one's going to be.
Okay, what is the next one? How did we read our books?
Well, we picked them up and our eyeballs went back and forth.
By this we mean that, like, well, I guess the format.
The format.
But we already kind of talked about that, but you didn't really talk about it. But also just where we got it from.
The format and I like to count how many books I got from the library. I like to count how many books I read that I actually owned, if I borrowed them. So, and I stick in ebook and audiobook in this category. So for me, I had 5 library books, which is kind of a small number. But that just means that I'm reading more books that are on my shelves, which I had 29 of. Some of them I did acquire during the year, but still, they were books I bought or owned and I read. So 29 of those. I borrowed one. Shout out to Drew if he's still watching. I borrowed his 3 Body Problem book. And then I listened to the 3 audiobooks, 3 memoirs, no, 2 memoirs and 1 about intermittent fasting. And then I did 14 books and 14 ebooks, so on the Kindle mostly. So that's my shakedown on that. Is that did you just use those main categories too?
I already talked about I did 21 physical, 79 audio. But I got those from Libby. Thank goodness for Libby.
Thank goodness.
77 on Libby. I did 1 audiobook from YouTube.
Oh,
because I just searched.
I've tried to do that before.
How we read our books, 1 word at a time.
Yeah, 1 word at a
time. And then from the physical library, I read 2 books. I borrowed 2 books from a friend. And then I read 17 books that I own.
Good shakedown of it. Yeah, pretty much. Library. See, using the library is awesome, which makes me feel bad that I didn't. I work at the library, and I get so excited still when I actually go and check out a book. After all these many years, it's so much fun to check out a book from the library, but I feel guilty doing it now because I have so many books here on the shelves that I need to read. So I really, truly don't do it very often unless it's for a book club, and I can't really find it any other way. Sorry. And I can't really find it any other way. So,
and
but yeah.
Libby is technically the library also. So
true.
It feels like.
Yeah, but usually I count.
But
I count
it is
Libby's,
kind of more exciting to get it from the physical.
I count the Libby's as the ebooks, so I probably did a ton of ebooks from Libby.
Yeah.
So, anyways, just click into the comments here, seeing what you guys are saying that you did. You counted paperback. I know you have it. Jenny has a thing with hardback. She loves them, right, Jenny? Am I right? 32 owned, 39 library for both. You know what? I have a both too, actually. I did spare half from the library. Well, and half from Libby, which is still kind of the library we were saying.
Yeah. I kind of did that with Where the Crawdads Sing also. I started reading it physically and I couldn't get into it, so then I switched to the audiobook from Libby.
Physical, Libby, Kindle, and all library. I didn't finish reading the few I bought this year. Oh yeah, so that should be a goal next year for you. Read those books that you bought. What was I going to say? Oh, I had another one where I listened to Lauren Graham's book on the audiobook from Libby, but then I realized I had the physical book on my shelf too. So that was kind of a bold.
Did you flip through it to see
I'd see the pictures. Yeah, I did. I flipped through the pictures for sure. Yep. So I think that's how we all are. Jenny, lots of Libby use lately. So
Libby is amazing.
How did we ever survive before? All right. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next category. Did we finish that category? Vanessa says, oh, wait, Asia. Never used Libby. Asia, you got to figure this out. And Jessica, all from the library. Audiobooks mixed in. Yep. And Vanessa says 40% physical, 6% digital, mostly owned. Sweet. That's a good mix too. All right, we're going to change to categories of two.
Oh wait, what was the book club like?
That's what we're going to do right now, right?
Oh,
yeah, what we read things for. Oh, did we skip a category? How did we read our
We
books?
don't have a banner for it.
All right, let's go back to this one. I think we skipped a category for our little banner down, our little ticker tape. That is, what did we read them for? I like to count this also. Like, I want to know how many book club books did I read, and how many books did I maybe read for a read along or a buddy read, or how many books did I read that where I was participating in a readathon or something. What else did I write down? Oh, I used to read a lot of ARCs and read books for review, so I would count how many books I did of those and stuff like that. So does that make sense for everyone? I don't know how to describe this category. That's probably why we forgot to make a little banner for it, because we didn't know how to describe it. So
105 from the library.
way to go, Cami. You
Yes.
win. You win the library usage, maybe. I don't know. I'm not keeping track. Yes, it's hard to borrow when you have so much already to read. But I love using the library at the same time. Yes. Mood reading for sure. Book club, 7 books for Jessica. And for me, I read 11 book club books, I think, if I counted them right. I feel like I'm missing one.
Oh, because you didn't read Wrong Place, Wrong Time.
I guess so, right.
So you had all the rest.
Normally I should have had 12 altogether.
Uh-huh.
Huh. 2 book club and 10 for just your personal interest. Yes.
I had 19 books for book club, but 12 of those are your book club, and 7 was another book club that I started at the beginning of the year, and it lasted for half the year, and then it died. So yeah, I had 19 book club books.
But you read all of the books for both book clubs, right?
Yeah.
Good job.
Art library, because I ain't got money. So many people say that reading is an expensive hobby, but it's not.
You don't have to have any
Book
money.
collecting is an expensive hobby, but reading is totally free with libraries.
You read your book club because you have one person in your book club, Megan. Is that what you're saying? One person in your book club. She read all of them.
You read 2 from our list?
You read 2 from our list. Awesome. I didn't know
What
that.
2 did you read from our list?
You'll have to tell us. Comment what 2 you read. Why or 4? Yeah. Why or 4? I think I had 4 for this category. 4. And on my list, I only read 1 book that was like an ARC that I got. Somebody on Instagram was just like, here, take my book and read it if you want. And so it was before she actually published it. So I read that one. And then I do have another one that I'm working on right now that is technically kind of an ARC, although I think it's now officially published. So I'm working on that one still also. But I used to do a lot more back in the book blogging days of these kinds of books, but I don't really do them much anymore. Do you do any of those kinds?
ARCs?
Yeah, and books that people ask you to review.
No.
Does anybody else do any of those these days? ARCs and books that people ask you to review. I don't know if I'm going to start adding that to my pile of things, because I am starting to get emails from authors saying, can you review my book and talk about it on your channel? And I'm just like, oh, I wish I could, but it's the same story of all the other books I want to read instead. So,
We did 1 read along.
we did. Did I write it? I didn't. What read along?
Once Upon a K-Prom.
Oh, I have it underneath Readathons.
Oh.
So I participated in the summer in K-Tropathon, which is a booktube event, and I did read 1 book for that one, the Once Upon a K-Prom book. And then I also participated in the Asian Readathon, which is a booktube event that happens in May, and I read 3 books for that. So, did you read anything for anything like that?
Me?
Just the K-pop one?
Just the K-pop one. Even though I didn't really, participate in anything, you just said,
This is what we're
this
reading.
is a book that people are reading this month, and so I read it.
Newberry. Cami has a Newberry goal. She got 9 books from those. Awesome. 5 book club books and 14 books read to your kids, which is awesome. Book challenges. Yes. Book challenges. Did I have any? Well, did.
We kept track of a couple challenges.
I did.
But we didn't like search out Facebook challenge.
Right, because like for the Pop Sugar Book Challenge, they all my books go into that pretty much. So I can make any of those prompts work for whatever book I read, almost. So what did she say? Oh, no, you don't read
The
arcs and reviews. Okay. Yeah. It's hard. It's not as fun as it used to be. I don't know. But I feel like if I was to do NetGalley again, then I would be more up on the new stuff again, which is kind of what I want to do. Like be aware of what's coming out, and NetGalley would help me do that. But I also don't want to do NetGalley again. So it's kind of crazy. Cammy's jumping in on the reread 11 books. Awesome. Okay, so did we talk about all the things? Oh, I am doing a thing on my channel called Forced Phases, which is when I think of a topic and force a phase of about a 3-month period or whatever of learning about a particular topic. And I read 5 books that I counted as forced phase books this year, which wasn't too bad. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. So anybody else have anything like that where they had
do a deep dive
a topic? Yeah, if you studied a topic, did you have any books that you read for any of those things? Maybe. Oh, Megan is going backtracking. Yes. Okay.
Our book club books. The last thing he told me. You read the last thing he told me.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We talked about that a little bit. All right. So the next one is categories.
Oh, Asia asked you a question.
Oh, my next forced phase. I haven't announced it officially yet, but I'm kind of thinking about doing it on happiness. It's because I need to finish that book by Trevor Peterson, if you know him, and it's called Overlap, and it's about how to be happy. And there's tons of other books about it too, and I have actually started other books about it. And I think it would be fun to compare all the different ways people say that you can be happy. What do you think? Should I do it? I don't know. Because it's a time of year also where everybody is like, my goal for this year is to be happy.
That's not a smart goal. SMART.
I know. You have to think of more things than that. I know, but Van Gogh sounds like an awesome forced phase. Love that. What else? Specific topics, memoirs and genres. Yes. Yeah, that's the specific topic thing that's why I call it a forced phase, because you have to force yourself to do it a little bit and make it happen. And it is kind of tricky when you're a mood reader, because sometimes I say stuff like, okay, I'm going to read stuff about happiness. And then I'm like, I don't really want to in the end, but you want to, I love it. Do it to the happiness thing. And I knew that Jessica would like that one. The other Jessica Pete. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next one so that we're not here for forever, because we're getting to the harder ones now.
Yeah.
Okay. What categories did we read in? And this one is not necessarily genres, but like adult books versus YA books versus middle grade books versus picture books, if you count those, and
versus manga
or graphic novels can be counted here. Stuff like that where it's not really a genre, but it's
the type of book.
Categorized categories. They're categories. Yeah. So I counted that I read 24 YA books, 24 adult books. How's that for being even? And 2 middle grade books. But if we were to go further, like I did only one graphic book, and it was a YA.
A YA graphic novel memoir.
It was a YA, a nonfiction YA graphic memoir. Best book of my reading too, of my year.
I read 73 adult, 23 young adult, and 4 middle grade.
Wow. You're just jumping right into that adult category, aren't you? Classics, science fiction, literary fiction. Okay, so we're going to get to this literary fiction thing in a minute.
Do classics count in this category?
No, we're going to get to that. I count classics as a genre. Yeah. So
Why?
YA,
It should be a category, because then a classic can have a genre.
because a classic, you can read an adult classic, or you can read a YA classic,
But a
or you
classic,
can read a children's
there
classic.
can be like a fantasy classic, or there can be like
Yes. Well, then
horror
that's
classic.
this one. That's why this one you count them separate. Yeah. You can count them separate. The classics all go into this stuff. No, wait, I have classics down here. I don't know. Okay, this is going to get complicated, so hang on for the ride. Let's see what everybody else did as far as adult YA and not applicable for Jenny.
Why is it not applicable? What do you mean by that?
Can you not categorize it as it maybe? I don't know. 45 adult, 26 not nonfiction is the next category, Jessica A.
I asked about this earlier too. I was like, is nonfiction a separate category? And she was like, no, it's adult nonfiction.
Exactly. Nonfiction is going to be, was your nonfiction adult or were they YA? Because you can read YA nonfiction. I read a middle grade nonfiction this year. So, yeah. Anyway. But I did say, hopefully Jessica A is here. She can help us with the genres. So maybe you can help us in a minute. Okay. A lot of middle grade. I usually read more middle grade, but I only had a couple of them this year. Middle grade is awesome. 2 adult and all the rest YA for Jessica. Pete. 3 fiction. 2 for kids. It's all ages. Harry Potter. 2 for kids are all ages. Harry Potter is YA usually. Yeah.
Is it?
The first one they say is middle grade.
And it changes to YA.
Yeah. Lots of nonfiction for Asia. Romance, fantasy.
We're getting into the genres.
We're getting into the genres here. Yes. It's really hard to separate these out, but
the genre, you count them as a genre, not a category.
Yes, all adult for the nonfiction that Jessica A read. Yes. There are some, like I said, there are some adult or nonfiction that's categorized. The library has an entire nonfiction section in the teen section these days. And then, of course, upstairs, you've got a huge section of nonfiction for kids. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's like picture books.
Right.
Nonfiction picture books.
What's that one referring to? I don't know. Did we miss something? Okay.
Maybe she's just saying oops because she went ahead to the genres.
Oh, oops. Oops. Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead to the genres. What we have for genres, and this is where, explain your struggle.
I have such a hard time separating the genres because I feel like books are multiple genres. Like thriller and horror go together, like thriller mystery, or sci-fi fantasy, or sci-fi thriller. Like they're both, so I don't know how to categorize it as just one thing.
Well, sci-fi fantasy we often always talk about together, but sci-fi and fantasy are completely, totally separate from me. Aren't they?
But like Cinder
is
sci-fi fantasy.
It's sci-fi.
There's magic.
Yeah. I think of it as sci-fi because you've got space.
But there's magic.
You've got other worlds. And you've got cyborgs, which is sci-fi.
But there's magic.
Okay, this is going to be one where we can all say our thoughts and feelings because everybody is on a different page for genres.
Count your genres how you want to count them.
I told Tori not to stress because she was really stressing. My books are pretty easy to count because I don't have that many, and I also don't really stress that much about them. But so should I just start with what I have since it's easy, and then you can go through your crazy stuff? Yes, Vanessa says she misunderstood. I know it's confusing. It's very confusing, but like YA is not a genre; it's a category, which is something it's kind of a soapbox I get on sometimes. And middle grade also. So, but then those other ones fall in there, so it's hard. Yeah.
The first 3 are middle grade, and the last 4 are YA. That's why I only have 2 not applicable to my adult. I just don't really get it.
Harry Potter. Okay. 42 graphic novels. This is why Candy can read so much, guys. Add graphic novels to your pile, and then you can read a lot. 18 YA, 22 adult, 29 middle grade. Awesome. Fantasy because of the fairy tale aspect, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fantasy. Sci-fi fantasy.
It's retelling. It's a retelling, yeah. Yes, science fiction and fantasy. It's very much always times categorized together, but I think of it as 2 different things in my head for the most part. So on my list, I said I read 9, well, I put them together for this, 9 science fiction and fantasy. 3 of them were adult ones and 6 were YA ones. So, yeah. Do you want me to break it out into what's science fiction and what's fantasy? Like, The 3-Body Problem is definitely science fiction. It is not fantasy. What else did I read that I considered fantasy? Or science fiction? Actually, I think that's the only science fiction I actually really read. I don't know. Romance is another one that's interesting because...
Should I say mine for each genre?
Yeah, should we do them? Yeah, sure.
But I still don't know if I should do this list or this list. I have my original list up. Because, guys, it's stressing me out so much.
Here's Jessica A's big, long, very good list. She's got mystery and thriller together. She's got literary and historical together. Bookish nonfiction. Interesting.
I think I'm just going to go with this list.
Okay.
So on this list, a lot of my books are overlapped because I just went like, any book I considered thriller and counted them all, and any book that I considered mystery and counted them all. And so there's overlap. Does that make sense?
I think so. Okay.
So sci-fi, since you started with sci-fi, I had 12.
Okay. And how many fantasy?
Fantasy, 10.
Okay. And some of those overlapped, you're saying?
Yeah.
Or much of them overlapped. Okay. Now, romance is it's also a very subjective genre, and I counted them. If I just felt like it was a romance, then I counted it. Okay. If I felt like there was romance in it and that was like a main plot point, then I counted it. Okay.
Yeah, if it's the main plot.
If it's the main plot point. So I read 13 YA and 1 adult, as far as I can understand here. But YA romances are one of my favorites. And I also call them contemporary romances, which was confusing Tori a little bit. So that's just like a real world situation. Usually there's a romance. And that's some of my favorites. So 13 YA.
I read 18 romance, but I forgot to count how many were YA and how many were not YA.
Cammy's like, I don't want to count genres. It's stressful. It is stressful. It's sometimes fun just to see where it all shakes down. But
I did count that I read 3 LGBTQ romance books, like if that was the main plot point, because there's a lot of LGBTQ romance like inside books, but where it's not the main plot point.
Yeah, I didn't separate that out.
I read 3 LGBTQ romance books where that was the main plot.
Huh. I didn't separate that one out, but I don't know if I read a few that would probably count for that. Did you say A Song of Achilles is not the main plot point?
I forgot about that.
It's not really a main plot point. It's
really
just part of the romance, right? Okay.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't really count that as a main romance.
Romantasy is kind of I feel like a new genre. I haven't decided to count that quite yet. But it is definitely a huge thing these days. Okay. I did not read any dystopian books that I counted anyway.
I read 4.
Really? I feel bad. This used to be my favorite, and I didn't read any this year. That's so weird to me.
Some of them were really weird, though.
40 romances. Awesome. That's a lot, and that sounds like a fun reading time. Okay, dystopian. We did that one. Historical fiction. I said I read 2. This is another, and they were both YA. This is another one that I really love and I want to read more of. And I can't believe I didn't read more of that this year.
I read around 10 historical fiction.
Really?
Ish. A lot of these numbers are probably guesstimates.
Skewed.
Yeah. 10 historical fiction. But then, like, there was, like, 2 historical fiction fantasy. Does that exist?
Historical fiction fantasy. Yes, it exists.
Okay. So I had that. So, like, within historical fiction, there was.
Would you count the girl beneath
historical fiction mystery?
Would you count the girl who fell beneath the sea as one of that? Is that historical fiction or is that just fantasy? Because it's based on a folk tale.
Are you saying that historical fiction has to be based on a true thing?
No, usually it is, right? Or it's based in a real world, like the other one, the girl, the June Her book. What's that? June?
Silence of Bones.
The Silence of Bones is historical fiction, for sure. Right?
Yes. I would consider The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea
historical
fantasy.
I counted it as fantasy. So
only fantasy,
I think.
Interesting.
I need to read more historical fiction this year. And more dystopian. All right, I read 1 graphic novel, Dragon Hoops. Everyone go read it. It's really awesome.
I did not read any graphic novel.
Mm.
Did I? No. I read a couple last year, though.
And I didn't count my contemporary in the end. I put all my contemporaries into the romance or the literary fiction. And I have 7 on my literary fiction list. One of them I considered YA. Because all my rage I considered literary fiction because it's not really about the romance. It's not, I couldn't count it as a romance. So, yeah. So I just counted it as literary fiction because it was just in the real world, nothing extra stuff going on. I don't know.
There's also the genre women's fiction that people say nowadays.
Yeah.
Which I feel like some of the books that I read were considered women's fiction, but I just categorized it as literary fiction.
Okay, so
it has romance, but it's not the main.
So how many did you have for literary fiction?
Overall, 15.
Okay. Pretty good. Megan says she just got Dragon Hoops from the library yesterday. Yay! I can't wait to see what you think of it. Tori says she's going to take my copy home and read it too. So
stack over there.
Yeah, we'll see what you guys think. See if all my raving about it is. Maybe you'll be like, "What the heck?" You don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But what if there's like nothing else in the book?
The literary fiction for me is stuff that I can't really fit into another genre. It's just a book.
It's
like
just a story.
Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. We have it right here. It's not a mystery. It's not a romance.
This has no genre.
It's not literary. It's actually you kind of can maybe consider it historical fiction because it's a little bit. It's a little bit in the back times, but it doesn't really fit in. It's not a mystery. It's not a suspense. It's not anything. It's just a book about stuff. So then you count that as a literary fiction book. And I thought of Lessons in Chemistry is another example of that. It's not really a romance. It's historical fiction though, maybe.
Yeah, I kind of thought myself.
I forgot to count that one as historical fiction. Anyway, yeah. There's some of them where you just can't really find a genre for it. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming. Glad you could hang out for a little bit. Yes, hopefully I can figure out how to make it stay up on the channel so people can watch this later. I'm so new at this, I have no idea what I'm doing. All right, Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye is I would call a classic, yes, because it's published quite a while back, and it's one that, that's standing the test of time. I don't know. That's our other thing. Do we have any classics? What's your classics?
I counted 6, but I don't know if some of them, like, let's see. I'll tell you my classics. Tuck Everlasting.
It's a kid's classic, yes.
Yeah, middle grade classic is what I put it as.
Uh-huh.
Perks of Being a Wallflower, I put as a classic because I looked it up on Storygraph, and Storygraph marks it as a classic.
When did it get published? 1999?
1999.
Okay, so the rule I have heard is 50 years older, published
50 years.
Yeah. 50 years published date or older is one rule people go by.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm saying.
Storygraph says it's a classic.
Interesting.
I read The Picture of Dorian Gray.
It's a classic.
Howl's Moving Castle. I marked it as a classic, but that one was also written like in the 2000s. No,
it's way older than that.
Hold on.
We need to find out when that one's published. I thought it was pretty old. I only counted 2 classics. I did 2 books that were short story collections, one by Louisa May Alcott and one by Leo
Howl's Moving Castle
Tolstoy.
is 1986.
Not quite 50 years though, right?
But Storygraph also said it was a classic.
I feel like it could be considered a classic too. I don't know.
And I read The Haunting of Hill House and Fahrenheit 451. Those ones are both classic, right?
Yeah, I think so, I guess. But yeah, for me, classics are just really way older books that people are still reading today. Like they stood the test of time, are still talking about, and still on the school's list or whatever. Cami says 13 classics. Now, a lot of the Newberries that Cami's reading, if they were older, would be counted as classics for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, Jessica says only 1 classic, 1984. Awesome. I always say I want to read more classics, and I used to read tons more, and now I hardly read any. And it feels really weird when I count at the end of the year and find that I didn't read any. So, contemporary classic, is that a thing?
The Perks of Being a Wallflower and stuff.
Yeah.
That's in my video on my channel that is dead now. When I talked about it in my wrap-up video, I called it a contemporary classic.
Okay, I like that. Works for me. Mystery. Did we do any mysteries?
Oh yeah,
I did 2. I said 2 or maybe 3. There was one that I wasn't sure counted as a mystery. I can't remember which one it was.
Overall, I counted 16.
16 mysteries.
Yeah, but they overlap, right? It could be a thriller mystery or a historical mystery
or a cozy mystery.
I didn't do any cozy mysteries.
Or a Christmas mystery. Mysteries aren't my favorite thing, so I'm surprised I even have 2 or 3, maybe. Okay, did we count? So now I've got nonfiction on here, which I read 12
Wait,
of.
are we done with all of the?
Did I skip some?
Well, I have thrillers and horror.
Okay, talk about those.
Thrillers was my biggest genre at like 31.
Okay.
Overall, but then inside thrillers, I had like horror, but then I also had horror that was just horror that I wouldn't consider thriller, and like sci-fi thrillers. Anyway, overall, 31 thrillers and overall like 15 horror.
Nice.
Because horror is fun.
Horror is the thing that you're into these days. I wonder how long it's going to last. Or if this is forever. Jenny says contemporary classic works because you also have sci-fi classics like Dune and fantasy classics like Lord of the Rings. Yep.
That's what I was saying earlier, though.
Yes. It kind of all gets all 15% nonfiction, 85% fiction. You got a percentage going. Is that because of Storygraph?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't do percentages. I don't know how to do that yet. Pie charts. I need to next year. 9 mystery for Cami. Thrillers are amazing, says Jenny. Yes. I see those out in book and movie form. What are you talking about now? Contemporary classics?
Horrors?
Contemporary classics.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Robert McCammon.
There you go.
Okay.
Remember that one. Oh, Seek. She meant to say Seek.
Oh, Seek those out in book and movie form. Thrillers.
Yes. All right. Is that all the ones that you had on the fiction side of things?
I think so. Yeah, Dystopian, I read 4.
Okay.
You can move on to nonfiction.
So I read 12
Tammy read 1 horror.
I don't think I read any horror this year, or any thrillers.
But you're going to try to read House of Leaves this year, right?
That's the idea. Is it going to freak me out? Is it horror?
It's horror, but it's not like...
Well, I'm going to read fairy tale.
Disturbing.
I'm going to read fairy tale, and it might fall in the horror category too, even though it says fairy tale.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, 12 nonfiction, which is huge for me. I read 6 memoirs and 1 YA memoir, which is Dragon Hoops, and I read a cookbook. I counted it. No, I counted it because I read a lot of the intro. The first part was a lot of discussion about sourdough stuff, and then the rest was recipes. But I counted it because I read a lot of stuff in it. And then I read 3 that I considered like self-help, even though some of them aren't really that self-helpy. And then the 1 middle grade biography book, which I was just showing you a little bit ago, Shining the Light. Awesome.
Nice.
So I really love that my nonfiction went up, but I need more classics to go up and a couple other things. So.
Maybe not read any horror. I read 4 nonfiction, 3 were memoirs, and 1 was a self-helpy one.
What was that?
The Adam Grant, Think Again.
Oh. I read that one for the beginning of the year called How to Be Interesting. I don't think it worked. Okay. Is that it for the genres? Did we get through it? Whew. That was crazy. You know what? I forgot to change the banner that entire time.
Oh no.
Look, I had a banner. What genres? Now we're going to do a rating breakdown. So this one should be way easier if you do Goodreads.
I did.
Oh
my
no,
story graph once.
hers not easy. Hers is not easier.
I mean, it's still not good.
So I have 12 5-star reads, 22 4-star reads, 14 3-star reads, and 2 2-star reads.
Oh, 22, 14, and 2. No 1-stars?
No, I always say that if
it's a 1-star, you DNF it.
Yeah, if I feel like it's a 1-star, I would probably not finish it. And I did have a few.
That's how I am too, but I finished 1.
I had a few. I had maybe 5 or 6 books that I started but did not finish.
Yeah.
But I don't even count them as that because it's like I didn't finish them within the first chapter or 2.
Yeah, I had quite a few DNFs as well, but I don't even think about them afterwards.
Right.
So I don't categorize them.
So Tori broke hers down into story graph.
The points.
Stars. So how does it break down for you?
5 stars, I had 25. 4.75 stars, I had 2. 4.5. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. 4.5 stars, I had 6. 4.25, I had 5. 4 stars, 33. 3.75 stars, 3. 3.5 stars, 2. 3 stars, 17. 2.5 stars, 2. 2 stars, 4. 1 star, 1.
What was your 1-star read?
Uprooted by Naomi Novik.
All right. Well, let's see what the people are saying about their rating breakdown.
2 stars, 1. 3.5.
1. 4
stars,
6.
4.5, 2, and 5, 2.
Awesome.
I feel like read it out loud so that I can visualize it.
5-star.
43, 316, 2110.
Pretty good. Sounds like a pretty good reading year. You're going to have to do something on all your 25-star books. If you're not going to do it on your channel, you maybe have to do it online.
Oh, my 5 stars.
You need to share all your 25 5-stars.
Do we count a 6-star?
Oh, she has a 6-star.
My 6-star read. I'm wearing this shirt to match it.
Yep. Based on a famous Japanese painting. Yes.
I got the shirt in Japan.
So she rated this 6 stars, but she can't do anywhere yet.
It's just a in your heart thing.
Yeah. Cammie's got hers here now. Looks like a pretty good reading year too. No 1-star books either. I have 2-star books. Now I want to know what your 2-star books are. Is that interesting?
I had 4 2-stars.
6-star means what? How do you explain your 6-star?
Like, it's a 5-star, but even more.
Like it's going to be the best of her best favorites. Better than the 5 stars.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Does anyone else think in their head give a book 6 stars? If it's like you love it even more than you love your 5 stars?
Think about that one. Let us know. All right, are we good with that one? Does anybody else want to report? 3 of my 2-star books were Newbery books.
They were old and slow and basic.
Nice. They didn't stand the test of time, it sounds like. Not so good, huh? All right, we have a sort of miscellaneous one. Tori wanted to count her translated books.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot. But we both had... My grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry by Frederick Bachman. That's translated from Swedish.
Yes.
And then I read 2 books that were translated from Japanese.
Awesome. And I usually feel like I would have a couple others that I read. But
don't you ever have a feeling where it's even more favorite?
She's talking to Jenny's comment here. Even better than your favorite. Your favorite favorites. I don't know.
5 stars are favorites for me, but then there are some books that are even more feeling.
I think that was the only translated one I read. I can't think of another one, which is sad because last year I'm pretty sure I read a few more, a couple from Japanese or something. I did read the BTS biography memoir thing, and we wondered if that was translated or if they wrote it in English.
Yeah, I would say it's half and half because they interviewed BTS, but then the book is in English. But I'm assuming they interviewed them in Korean.
Then they had to translate their answers to English.
Yeah,
but the narration part was written in English. Yes, sometimes not so great of English, by the way, but it was okay. It was okay. Asia can jump in on this one.
One translated. One in original language, meaning French.
I'm sure she read a French book. Yes. Awesome. Anybody else say that?
Dune is your 6-star? Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Example. There you go. 6-star. Whoops. It's my all-time favorite. Yes. And then Asia, other than English. Because your English is an original language. Haha. Makes sense. Yes. What else are people saying? 0 translations. No Bachman this year. Bachman. How do you say that?
How do you say Bachman?
25 translated.
One more.
You can't hear translated from British to American. No, I don't really count that. Sorry.
It's English.
But they did Americanize it. So that's what she's talking about. Interesting. So you got
ranked your 5 stars.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So that sounds like something to do. for a video idea, ranking your 5 stars. That would stress me out.
Yeah.
Manga.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. So they're translated.
Japanese. Nice.
Japanese literary fiction is wild.
It's awesome. I read some last year and yeah.
So unhinged.
They have no filters, right? They have no social worries. All right. That's all we have. Is there any other things we feel like we should count? Does anybody have any suggestions or any things you are like, dang, we didn't count this thing?
Do you have your top emotions on Storygraph? Or I guess
I didn't keep track. I didn't keep track of any of my books. I joined Storygraph, but then I didn't keep track of any books.
Yeah. Because I thought that this was kind of funny. My top emotions that Storygraph told me are emotional, mysterious, dark, intense.
Well, that's because of all your horror, right?
All the thrillers.
Jessica says she tracks publication dates. Yes, I don't really do that. I know that Goodreads has a little thing where you can click on it and see.
Listed by publication.
I think.
We should do that for next year.
All I know is that usually I'm a year or two behind. So like if I was to say, what did I read that came out? What did I read this year that came out in 2023? Like hardly anything. Most of it would have been 22 or, so yeah. Where authors are from. Interesting. You'd have to look up some stuff if you didn't know, huh? You should write this down, though, for next year. Write this down. Where authors are from. We could do that on our author category. And then publication date. What else do we like to track? Mild Rumpus says, reflective, dark, emotional, and challenging. Good on you. Jimmy's got Utah, rest of U.S., and international.
So it's just broad categories like that.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, I think that's the end of our first live stream. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And hopefully we didn't look like we were complete and total something.
I feel like
terrible
it was better than I thought it would.
You did it. But we really appreciate everyone coming and chatting with us. Otherwise, it would have been really especially boring.
Yeah.
But this will go up, and if you want to rewatch anything or if you missed it, this is not for people that are watching, so this is a funny thing to say, but it will be up on the channel, hopefully, if things go as they're supposed to. And if we think this went okay, then we'll do some more another day, and maybe Tori will join me. Maybe I'll do some by myself. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that part still, but we will see. Jessica Pete says she needs to read more. Approaching 1,000 followers. Yes, I feel like it's such slow going though, but maybe we'll get there. Thanks, Cami, for coming. Thanks, Jenny, for coming. Brave. Yeah, I don't know. Once we got going, it was okay, but I was a little nervous at the beginning. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. See you next time. Happy reading.
Bye-bye.